Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I am your host, Brandis Daniel.
I keep telling this girl she is not the only host of this show. I'm your co-host, Sybil Amuti.
You should say, and I am your host, Sybil Amuti.
Because you're co-host for the
Say,
18th
you're supposed to say, and I am your host, Sybil Amuti.
It's called co-hosting.
Oh,
I'm your co-host.
We're both hosts.
Ay,
The things I have to deal with, girlfriends.
Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to have a serious conversation with you, great girlfriends, and she is all on Vanity Row. She's in my Skype. She's using like this time to play in her blonde hair.
Oh, Akela. Akela, if you're listening, it is time for Akela Abrams of Artistry by Akela, who did both me and Sybil's hair. Akela, if you're listening, it's time for a touch-up. I need some touch-up color. I'm seeing too much black.
Is it black you seeing for real?
And there's some gray in there. There's some gray. A little bit of gray.
Let me tell you, Akela has me feeling like a celebrity. I don't know if I could ever be normal again. Like, I feel like she took me up 10,000 notches with my summer flow.
So that hair is everything. I don't know what you're going to do for the winter.
I might just keep this forever.
Yeah,
I might just pull a Diana Ross. This just be the end.
Yeah. Because that hair is everything. So, great girlfriends, we see you guys on social. Make sure you keep tagging us at the Great Girlfriends. No, tag us, hashtag the Great Girlfriends. And so that we can keep reposting all your fabulous summer pics.
Yes, please make sure you keep us in the loop. And, an invite or 2 or 3, to one of these amazing pool parties would be cool, but pressure, no pressure, whatever.
Exactly. So what have you been up to, Sybil?
Today was a super swanky day. We had a really, really great time over at LOreal today, visiting and taking a tour and doing a recording and doing a little shopping and city hopping, and it was good. I had a really good day, and I've just been doing summer,
Yeah, I do.
What about you?
It's been good. Getting ready for Fashion Week. Be here in 2 weeks, I do believe. And what else am I up to? Try not to freak out as a mom, because Sky had a fever tonight. So I was trying to be a big mama, big girl mama. And try not to freak out and take her to the hospital over a fever. But yeah, that's about it.
Well, let me tell you something. Don't waste that emergency room money, because they're going to tell you if she hasn't had it for 48 hours.
Exactly. I already know.
Take her home.
Right.
Wait till she gets more sick.
Right.
Save your money, girl.
They're going to send me home some Tylenol, then I'm going to be upset.
Save your money. But it's right, because you could have just been at Dwayne Reed for that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, girlfriends, this has been, I would say, one of the best summers I've had in a while. A little bit of work-play balance, and we've been in this pivot series and having a lot of fun. And it's just been one of those really lighthearted summers, right?
Yeah, it's been good. I have to tell you like this super funny thing. So you guys know that Sybil and I right now, we're joining Honest Tea, celebrating lighthearted ways that we're less than perfect, because we are less than perfect. And we're doing it through the hashtag Refreshingly Honest Project. So Sky, every time we get in the car, she's like making noises, want attention, want to play peekaboo. And this one time, I just needed like one moment to myself. So I passed her a lollipop, which I don't normally give her lollipops. And guess what? That gave Mama a nice 5 minutes of silence in the car while I was driving. It was so nice. So guys, I want to know, are you refreshingly honest? Please share your fun and funny ways that you're less than perfect on social media. And you have to tag hashtag refreshingly honest. You guys have to do this. We're going to check these hashtags and we'll repost them. So if you want more honesty, you can learn more by visiting honesty.com/podcast.
I love that. Honesty, refreshingly honest.
Yeah, it's been good.
Super cool. All right, so we're diving into the close of this. Well, it's really not the close. Let me refresh
Yeah,
that.
because we got a couple more to go.
We're in the middle of this pivot series, and literally we're not stopping in this series until we feel you've gotten everything that we have to offer from some of the women who are really, really driving the charge in their own professional and personal lives and so forth. And so today, in this late hour that we're recording, we are talking just about that. What do you do when you're in the middle of the pivot and things look so strange? And you look in your corner, you like looking to your girls to say, "Hey, I'm doing it." Like, "Girl, you still doing that?" And you like, "Hey." They're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were still working on that," or "Oh, you still haven't found a new job," or "Oh, you still shifting, you still working on that DIY project, or you still pursuing your passion, or trying to figure out what your life is about." You know how it goes sometimes, right? Or better yet, you're starting to doubt whether or not this pivot is worth it, or if you are making the right decisions in the middle of whatever this is you're facing, or, and Tanisha talked about her pursuit in coming to New York and working with Russell Simmons or in the entertainment industry. And she got to that crazy point where it was like, she needed that interruption from her family, so we get to those points where it's like, it looks like the end, or it looks like you should quit. And even on this series, we're not done yet. And that's the message tonight, right, Brandis?
Absolutely. No, you're so on point, Sybil. It's been, I feel like message after message for me, and just not stopping. And I know for me personally, there's been so many times in my life where, I will get very, very close to the end, and then I'll get comfortable. And before we got on this call, Sybil said something that was so amazing. I said, "Oh my God, Sybil, that's it." She said, "Yeah, we get to the place where we press refresh on our prayers." And
That's
so,
it. Yeah, that's what we do. Isn't it crazy? We pray something and we just sit back and we think it's going to be like abracadabra, let this magic happen, and then we refresh to see if anything's changed, and we're looking around like, "Oh, hadn't changed, so let me hit refresh again." When there's actually more to do, more that's required on our end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's a lyric in this Kirk Franklin song, and he says, the singers say, "You're waiting on God. He's waiting on you."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's it a lot of the time. Like, a lot of the times we are... Like, for you to say that refresh thing, I think I'm going to use that, Sybil, because that is so what I have done so many times in my own life, where I'll pray for something and then I'll do some work, and I'll do what I feel like is a lot of work. And then I'll say, "You know what? At this point, I got to let that work take care of itself. I've prayed over it. I'm going to keep pressing refresh. And then now I got to move on to something else, or just let the chips fall where they may." When in fact, I now know, like, in this particular season, God has been pushing me to keep going. Like, don't stop, keep going. Don't stop, keep going. And even when you're tired, and even when you're exhausted, and even when you feel like time is getting so short and there's not a lot of time left, he's like, "Nope, keep going." And I was at church Sunday, and our minister said something that was so interesting. He said, "What if God is saying, I'll go as hard as you go. So as long as you're going, I'll go." And what if that's the case? And think about the times when we've gone to a certain place and then we've said, "You know what? I've done so much. I'm just tired. I'm just going to sit back." And and sometimes it can be physically tired, but other times it can really just be emotionally and mentally tiring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it and let's be honest. When you're in the middle of a pivot, you can look crazy.
Yeah.
the pressure the pressure can be enormous because we talked about how you're doing things that might be outside of your gifting sometimes because you're trying to be resourceful and you want to be efficient, and so you find yourself I always like to reference accounting. No disrespect to any accountant, but the wrong person handling accounting is not accounting.
Right.
It's just, but you find yourself doing things that you think are necessary to get it done, or sometimes you're just a fish out of water. Maybe you're out of place in a situation because you think you're starting to look different. You don't feel the same, and you're not meant to fit in places that you were in before, but you haven't taken the courage to step out. And so sometimes you're almost being pushed out, and then you're in that gravitational pull forward where, all of your purpose or passion or all of what God has put on the inside is pulling you into a certain place, but you want to be comfortable. And when you're in between that squeeze, it feels like you're being, I said this to you, Brandis, sometimes I feel like I'm being cornered by God. It's like he got his arms like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? And I'm like, like I'm stuttering because I'm trying to figure this out. But we are there sometimes, and it's not an easy place to be in, and things don't always add up. But those are the moments where doubt starts to creep in, and your mind starts to go to war, and it's almost like one part of your mind is like, girl, you better keep going. You are doing it. You're killing it. You're almost there. And the other part is like, girl, please. Now, good and well, at this age, at your size, with the market going like this, with all these other brands and with all these other ideas or people doing what you're doing, why would you do this? Or how crazy could you possibly be? And so stepping outside of your comfort zone is one of the hardest things that you can do, but it's one of the most critical things that you can do when you're in the middle of a pivot. You simply cannot stay in your comfort zone and expect to grow.
Yes.
You can't. And as we were talking earlier, we talked through the podcast before we actually do the podcast. For those of you that listen, we were talking about championship athletes. And, we were trying to think through, has there ever been one who was comfortable on the court or comfortable on the field, or, a singer who hadn't trained for hours and, or practiced their routine for hours and months, 6 months before they go on tour for a month. You know what I mean? Or a number of hours they spend in the studio to get one record. Mm-hmm. That is not, and what we think is so comfortable, we look at the C-suite and, our executives, and we think they look so comfortable in those plush chairs, but they're making decisions that we have no idea about. We don't know what it takes for people in those championship spots to get there and stay there. But what we do know is they don't quit.
Yes.
They don't quit. They don't quit until they get what they know belongs to them.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's the valuable thing that we want to reinforce in this pivot, is that, the pivot is just that. It's a shift. It's a move. It's an adjustment. And it's not for the bad. It's for the good. And it's not to defeat you. It's to create a championship out of a champion.
Absolutely.
That's what it's for.
Absolutely.
It's to bring the winner out. That's all it's built to do. And if you can stick with it, and if you can weather through those difficult times and those opinions and that rejection and those questions, even the questions in your own mind, the champion on the inside of you will win the championship.
And here's the thing too, Sybil. We can't put a time on this thing. We'll get to a certain point and we will decide that, hey, if God hadn't moved by then, he's just not gonna move. And so
right, like he's a puppet.
So we will do it, and I've seen people do it. I've seen people say, you know what? Let me just. I've seen people cancel things because it hasn't happened in a certain amount of time. Yeah. I have seen people pull out of things because it just didn't look like it was going to work out. Not that it didn't work out, but that it didn't look like it was going to work out. Right? And there's a big difference between something not working out and something not looking like it's going to work out. Those are two very different things. The thing about somebody pulling out when it looks like it's not going to work out, you're pulling out prematurely. And so, you really have to go. You have to keep going until the last drop. Like, if you really have faith and you're really trusting and you really know that this is what you're supposed to be doing, you cannot stop when you think you're supposed to
No,
stop.
you can't.
And, and trust me, I know wanting to stop and wanting to be like, you know what, this is a bit much. Let me just go do something regular.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes you even ask yourself, am I built for this? Am I
Yeah.
built for what this is required? But I mean, it's for you. God's calling on you is for you to answer. And that's the truth about it. It's like we want it to be an easy, comfortable yes, and we wanted to just make that quick turn and everything's there waiting and prep for us. But sometimes it's for us to really grow and understand our capacity. And, if we always stay in the safe spots, if we always stay in the comfort zone, if we always stay where it's easy, we won't learn our capacity. We won't learn it, and we won't be able to push ourselves for the next level. So, I just want to give you an example of a premature gifting. And I think about this kind of stuff as a parent because I look at the decisions that we have to make on a micro level of giving our kids things when we think that they're ready for them, with hopes that they'll manage it and that they'll be responsible, and how God has to or be, or know when we're ready for whatever our next piece or elevation is. And so at Christmas time, Sam wanted a drone, right? And Sam's he's an amazing kid. And so most of the time when he asks for things, we will honor it as best we can. And in the case of this drone, we could have gone to Family Dollar, right, and gotten, a little boo-boo one that was going to just, fly at 10 feet. But, we wanted to get him something that would be durable, that he could play with outside, that had features and benefits, and etc. So we picked this drone. It was amazing. Sam got that drone. We have not seen it since Christmas.
Are you
He opened
serious?
that box. Let me tell you something. He opened that box, and Sam is really good about reading instructions and figuring out toys. But this one, he looked at it and he was like, mm-mm. It was too much for him. And so he put it away. And so just about 3 weeks ago, he put in a request for a drone. And we were like, Sam, did you even remember you have this uber expensive, amazing drone upstairs that you have not even touched in almost a year? That's
Wow.
charged up, waiting. And Sam was like, oh, I didn't even remember. And I thought to myself, you little greedy little snothead. That's what I thought, right? And God was looking at me with his godly side eye, like, really? You go asking me for more when you haven't used what I gave you to handle what you need to get done.
Mm.
Aren't you and Sam a lot alike? And I think about how we do that sometimes. We have all the tools in our hand to do what's being called for right now. But we're so busy looking at the finish of a pivot that we're like, nah, you know what? I need X, Y, and Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. And then everything's going to be amazing. And then I'm going to move on that instruction. But that's not how God works. With any gift, it's given to you in a set season for a set reason for you to utilize. And I realized with Sam, like God, if God gives us everything that we ask for in the moment we ask for it, with our immaturity, can you imagine how much more we'd be wasting?
Yes, girl. That's so good.
So we have to consider everything and that's part of the solution here. Looking at what you already have that you can use to do what you need to do. You've been gifted with so much that you have eyes to see, and then the things that you haven't taken out time to see and honor as gifts.
Yes.
But in these moments when you feel like quitting, don't stop and look down. Locate your gifts and use them. They're all around you. I really do believe and know that we are not without lack. We may not have everything that we think we need for the finish, but for the specific instruction that we have or the leading that's on our heart in the moment, we have everything that we need to accomplish what's being asked of us in this moment. And so part of not quitting or staying in the fight until the last drop is looking up, looking around, locating the gifts that are right in front of us and being able to honor them and use them properly so that we can get what we're looking for.
That is so true. That is so true. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as asking, right? We stop when we did the podcast earlier today with Cecilia, and she was speaking about this young woman who wanted to, I guess, kind of see like how far she could go in her company, and how she started having lunch with these kind of VPs and people who were way above her. And sometimes we create our own box and we live in our own box, and nobody is holding the top to the box is wide open.
Yes.
The top to the box is wide freaking open, but we decide to stay in that box and not and not just walk and climb out of it, and go ask other people who are outside that one little box. So sometimes it's literally a matter of putting your ego on the line, putting your pride on the line, and going and asking in places that aren't comfortable for you to ask.
Gotta do it. You have to. And I mean, and even if it's just like, can I get your opinion on this matter? Can I get your eyes on this for me? You know, I'm at this point in my pivot where my next step looks like ABC. Can I check in with you? Those type of things. It's a small thing and a big thing at the same time, because you never know what wisdom that person has that they can give to you. You never know. You never know the perspective that they can offer. We don't have all of the answers. And it's okay to ask questions and get the answers from people who have gone before us, or people who can be a link to a solution.
Absolutely.
That's it. Another huge part of not quitting or staying in the fight to the last drop is knowing what's yours to handle and knowing what's God's to handle. And I think a lot of times, you know, we take on everything as our own. We want to be so self-sufficient. We want to make sure that we are in control of everything. But if we're going to fly at a different altitude, or if we're going to be willing to be elevated or shifted in anything that we're doing, a smart, wise person will know that I want to take what's in my capacity. Anything that feels too hard or too heavy or too much for me to bear, I'm going to pass it forward. I'm going to say, Lord, I call on you. I call on you for this. This is beyond me. I feel like I'm out in the water and I'm really, really close to sinking. So I really need to stop in a moment and assess myself and honor you and give you everything that I can't handle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That vulnerability opens us up to that open heaven that we already live under, but we get to really, really plug into everything that's there.
And most of the time when we're feeling like that, when we've taken on too much, it usually comes in the form of anxiety. Absolutely. It usually comes in the form of fear. Like, that's when, anytime I start to feel anxiety, I know I've taken things on to myself. So it's not for me, it's not the hard work. It's not the fatigue that gets me. I can do that. It's when I start feeling like the emotional piece, the anxiety, the fear, that piece, that's when I know that I'm holding on way too tight to this. That's it.
That's so good.
So when you're feeling that, you know that you're trying to control it, that you're not in a place of surrender, which has been kind of my lesson for the past couple months, is just being in a place of surrender, like letting it go, letting God really, really handle it for you. Seriously. Doesn't mean that you're not doing the work. You're doing the work, but you're not tied or trying to control the results.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're not wondering or questioning whether or not the work leads to the results.
Right.
You know with confident assurance that this leads to the results because this is what I've been called to do.
Absolutely.
So it's just a matter of me going through the process. And someone else told me that it's so one of my good mentors, she was like, it's so important that as a mom, she told me this as a mom, but I take this in anything that I'm doing, whether it be cooking, which it's not my favorite activity, or even if it's, working on a brand plan for a client, or if I'm preparing for a presentation or something like that. She said, you have to fall in love with the process. You have to be more in love with the process than you are with the outcome, because if you fall in love with the process, you'll see yourself through to the outcome. And I think about that in motherhood. I'm like, there are some daily pieces to motherhood that just drive me up a wall. But if I'm in love with the process, then I understand that this is the grooming of a man. This is the grooming of a woman. This is what it takes. And likewise, if you're working on a project, or if you're shifting gears in life, falling in love with the process means that I'm not afraid, or I'm not going to grow concerned when things don't appear the way that I think they should, or when the process seems like it's outside of me. I'm going to fall in love with that and be open to what's being revealed to me in that moment. It's something new for me. This is uncharted territory. And it's okay to be in uncharted territory.
And it doesn't feel good to be in uncharted territory.
It doesn't feel good
So,
at all.
so if you think you're supposed to feel good and comfortable and that, like, I mean, you will have peace. You'll have peace, but it doesn't feel comfortable.
No. And if you've told yourself that the process is the process, this is what it takes, and that I'm willing and I'm able to go through what it takes to get to where I'm going, you'll be all good. If you knew that it literally was baking the cake that you get to eat at the end, then you're able to say, okay, I can do this.
Right.
Because I know I'm getting the cake at the end.
Right.
I know that this is a recipe that's going to lead me to the result that I'm looking for.
Absolutely. And the times that we want to quit are the very times when everything opens up. Like, it's like,
yeah.
I also feel like God has to know that we really want this.
Yeah.
I feel like he has to know. Do you really want this? Or, can I really trust you with this? Because, I mean, from everything I've ever heard, and I am so not at this place, but from everything that I've ever heard, people always say that success is tough getting it, but it's tougher to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so God has to know that you have what it takes to keep it once you get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, I think if you had your pen and paper out, because we didn't even bother saying pen and paper, because we assume that by now you know to listen with pen and paper, you understand what we're getting at is that this is your process. This pivot, it belongs to you. It's for you to manage effectively, be wise about, understand that you're not alone, you're not isolated, you are surrounded, and that life is not a straight line. One of my favorite lines that I heard last week was that life is not a straight line.
It's not. It's not.
It's not a straight line.
And it looks so different for every single person. That's why you can never look at someone else's story or their process and try to say, oh, well, they did it like this, so I'm going to do it like that. Or it's so different for every single person because we are all so different that you have to know that your process is your process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And be good with your process.
Yes.
Be good with it. Be good with whatever is being required of you, because you understand that you've been given what you need at the time that you need it. And that's good enough. And don't be like Sam and get a drone and put it away. Dust off some of those gifts.
Exactly. We have so many of them. I'm
the only one that sat on some gifts. God told me to do something, and I was like, and I debated and I warred with it. And I was like, not now. I don't have time for this now. And he was like, really? And I just felt like, I knew that I had gifts that I was underutilizing, and I was asking for more to do other things that I thought were priorities when I know what he was asking for me. And it seemed like a pivot in my mind, but it's not. It's what looks like a pivot to us a lot of times is an unleashing.
That's so good, Sybil.
It's just an unleashing, and we think it looks strange, and people are like, actually, I always saw this piece of you, or I always knew this part was in you. It was just a matter of it being unleashed at the right time. And so, that's what it is. That's what it is about, no quitting, no caving, no giving it up, no saying it's not for me. None of those things that we've all attempted to say, no negotiating with it. No rejecting it. Stay in the fight. Win this thing.
Yes.
You know?
That's a wrap, Sid.
Or
That's a wrap.
thank you, Kwaku.
And thank you to Rich Daniel.
Yay. Thank you, Sam and Dylan.
And thank you to Miss Guy.
Yes, and thank you, girlfriends, for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter. Make sure you listen every Wednesday on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Republic, Podcast Bean, Blueberry, Spotify, and every other podcasting service.
I got a shout out. I can't believe I missed this last week. Crochet Warren turned 40 years old last Friday. And I forgot to shout her out on the podcast. One of my best and dearest friends ever, who is just so freaking amazing. And doctors told her she would not even make it to 40. And she is here and thriving and constantly inspiring me. So happy birthday, Crochet.
Yay! Happy birthday, Crochet. Make sure that you are listening each week. Make sure that you're connected with us on social, on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
on Twitter,
_Great GFS,
on Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends,
and join our Facebook group of over 16,000 women on Facebook as well. Make sure you post your questions online. You share with your friends.
Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend.
I'm Sybil.
I'm Brandis.
And we're signing off. Peace.
Bye, guys.